what is one of the hardest parts of running a stream? I think what you said was one of your struggles, and we don't have to talk about this one, but was feeling like you're providing value.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the imposter syndrome that we had talked about a little bit before, is that especially when you first start streaming, then you really question what the value is. I'm more of a community streamer, I guess, where I play all of the different modes: wild, standard, battlegrounds, arena, even on occasion. But I'm not great at any of them. So, I just got to Legend for the first time in March after having been streaming for a year and playing since the game was released. I've made it a few more times since then, even had a double Legend where I made it in both standard and wild. But I know that the decks that I'm using aren't mine. They're piloted decks. So you really start to question, why are people watching me? I've come to the realization that it's because the community is great. We keep chat moving for the most part, so there's always somebody to talk to, and that you can be pretty confident that you'll get talked back to. It's also fun to point out misplays when somebody misplays as much as me. I don't complain about it when it's pointed out. So I see it as a chance to learn. It's pretty chill. We play with viewers and other things, so I'm finding ways to add value, but it still sometimes is a little unreal that I've gotten the viewership that I have and made all the friends that I have on stream.
Yeah. So I heard a couple things in there. Before I comment on that, though, so first of all, for those of you that don't know, imposter syndrome, I wrote out the definition, so I'll read it out just so everybody is kind of on the same page. But so the definition I found, I think this was just from Google Dictionary or Merriam-Webster or whatever, but one's like persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own effort or skills. And I think I found a couple definitions, but I think you kind of get the context from what GuyGrumpy was saying. Why are people watching me? What value am I bringing? And so
I appreciate the, so that's not to say that nobody should. I really do appreciate every viewer. Just when I compare myself to others and this goes back to one of your other videos about comparing yourself, comparing yourself to others, then you wonder sometimes why I'm having as much success as somebody that I think is awesome, or why I might be having more success, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you're seeing a little bit of in chat, just talking about how nice you are, how friendly you are, and like being a part of your community. So, I mean, you hit on one of those things as far as the value that you bring. So you bring the value of having a community. What are some other things you think that people might come to your stream or might subscribe to your stream? Why do you think that might be?
Well, I think it's probably mostly the community. Also, I do a lot of playing with viewers. I maintain a full set of Hearthstone cards, so I can build any deck, and that gives, and I'll build them for viewers if they want to play them against me. So you get a chance to play with some cards that you might not have or might be thinking about crafting before you craft them. Just a good opportunity against somebody who's okay at the game, not like top legend or anything, but it can give you a good race. And if you're not that great, I can play some meme decks too, and we can all have some fun with that. So it's a pretty chill environment that I think people enjoy, and I think that's one of the other big things. I also have a bunch of channel point redemptions that try to make it more fun, like hat swaps in the silly hats, or putting Murlocs up on my Murloc shelf, which is where I took the picture of the journal. Was from on my Murloc shelf. Also write poems and things like that. So there's enough other fun things going on in the channel that I think we're adding value.
Yeah,
just something else to do. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's you've already, I think, identified it. Those things are valuable, right? Is there anybody else that has a full set of cards that plays with the community? I've been streaming Hearthstone for 3 years. I've never heard of anybody else doing that. Have you seen anybody else do that in Hearthstone?
I so I don't know that I've seen anybody that advertises it in the same way, but I do see a lot of people with channel point redemptions to
Sure.
play versus the streamer. So I assume that that could happen, that they would just borrow a deck and play whatever the popular decks that they've got created are. Um, but maybe it's unique in the Hearthstone community to be willing to build anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's literally the first time I've heard of any streamer being willing to, you know, hey, play with my set. I have all the cards. You can play with my set before you try it. I mean, I think and I mean, that's what value is, especially a unique value proposition is, hey, when, I do something that nobody else offers, I mean, that's pretty valuable, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
And,
you're right.
and I mean, how many people in Hearthstone have the full set, do you think?
I think it's probably more common, maybe not common to have the wild sets as well, but I think it's more common now that especially that they've done the deduplication or the duplicate rule.
Yeah.
Um, like
What's
Jilly gets a
what?
pretty big collection off of just the pre-orders, like pretty close to able to build anything that she wants anyway.
Yeah. So what's your guess at percent of how many people you
I don't know,
have?
maybe 20%.
Think 20. I bet that's pretty high. But that's just my guess. I don't have any numbers behind it. I'd be interested to see, or maybe that would be something, if you want to justify even more of your value. I mean, the due protection did help out a lot, but I would venture to guess it's probably maybe 5% is
Really?
where my guess is of having the full standard collection. I mean, granted, I don't know that everybody buys, both of the pre-order bundles. I think
Yep,
there's so many free-to-play
that's a good
players.
point.
There's so many free-to-play players. There's so many mobile players. Yeah, Sheep would guess even less than that. I think 5% was probably even kind of high.
Yeah, I guess if you're counting the whole community, which it would include the players, I guess I was kind of seeing it as a follow-up question to streamers
Oh, sure, yeah.
who might play with their viewers. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
if you look at the 100 million people or however many there
Yeah.
are that play Hearthstone, yeah, it's probably pretty low.
Yeah. So that's a service or a value that you bring to,
Yeah,
however many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands Hearthstone players that don't have all those cards, right?
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's value number one. Two, having a community. I mean, that is incredibly valuable. I mean, I think a couple people said in chat as well. Um, I mean, I think community is, of course, more important than ever these days during the Rona era. So, and not being able to leave your house and see your IRL friends as much. So, I mean, that's pretty valuable, right? Having a community of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the community is all very, very much friends, right? So as you come in and stick around, then people get to know you and we all become friends and know what's going on in the area that you're in. And especially, like you said, during this time of Corona, where I haven't even been able to see my local POBA friends or local Hearthstone friends, then it's my comfort
Yeah.
to go and hang out with people on stream. So for me, it's been really helpful. And yeah, hopefully it has been for others as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then you have the channel redemptions, which I would classify as entertainment, right? So, I mean,
I would.
yeah. So, and entertainment's valuable, right?
Yeah.
Especially during our time period right now where, people could use an entertaining distraction. So,
It's not. I guess what I would say is it's not that I struggle to find value in what I do. It's when you start to then compare to others
yeah,
that the doubts creep in. Like, wow,
sure.
there's a lot more value, or I get a lot more value. That person's legend and high legend and explains the plays really well that I would have never even thought of, and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when comparing to somebody else, you're thinking, well, this person's a better streamer, provides more value because they're able to talk through their plays or they're higher ranked. Is that,
Yeah, or a variety of reasons. They have a better voice, they're younger. It's a young person's game. why would you watch an old grumpy person instead
Well,
of that young whippersnapper?
well, I
Against
mean,
turnies.
well, it's people that come into your chat though. They have free will, right? They're not.
Yeah.
You're not paying everybody to come in there, right? They're not forced to come in there for, right? They're choosing to come into your stream, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So there must be something that they like about you to choose you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, it sounds like there's some thoughts that, hey, only the younger streamer, or maybe the higher level legend player, or the different voice or whatever is maybe the mental block for you. You think?
Yeah, I think it's just 46 years of built up self-doubt
Sure.
that creeps in. Like I know that even my voice, people will come in and say that I have a good voice and should do voice acting, and I have a lot of different voices. Like when you watch my commercial for my upcoming heroic Brawlesium stream, then I get to play with that. Or when I was on Born to Be Wild podcast, then we had some fun with a poem that I wrote for them too. So it's just self-doubt is just one of those things that even if you know that you shouldn't have those doubts and that you should have that level of confidence, it still just kind of settles there. And you just have to know you have to overcome it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you had that mindfulness of that too. And so self-doubt, I think just about everybody, especially in our society, throughout the years, we develop self-doubt somehow in some aspect of our life. For me, like my big one growing up was like, my appearance, because I was really overweight growing up. And so I had a lot of self-doubt about how I looked and whether I looked attractive. And, and those are always things that, like you said, I had to overcome, and I've overcome that. So anytime we have self-doubt, it comes from up here. And I think you kind of know that too. I think you've kind of hinted at that too. It's just those thoughts. So we have self-doubt that comes, from whatever reason, like maybe, my case, I got bullied a little bit growing up, or maybe I saw something on TV and I said, oh, well, this is what a good looking guy looks like. I don't look like that. So then, I'm not a good looking guy, or whatever that is. So we make comparisons, when we do those comparisons, or we gain information through life for whatever reason, we sometimes say, okay, well, we adopt that as the truth. And many times that's not the truth. But, our bodies, our egos, kind of sometimes they try to keep us safe, and they say, okay, well, this is what a successful streamer looks like, or this is what a good looking guy looks like, or this is, blah, 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 blah looks like. And then we say, okay, well, this is it. I'm not that, but I'm just going to keep working hard. I'm just going to, hopefully it goes away. But the key to that.
Funny story on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I first started streaming, then I would get into all those support small streamers groups and things like that. And one of the early, like right after I got affiliate, then one of the early tweets there was somebody said that there's plenty of room for old people in streaming, that even people in their late 20s and early 30s can be successful. That adds a whole level of doubt to then when you're coming in at 44 years old. Right?
Sure. So what do you think?
Story there.
That is pretty funny.
Society throws that doubt. Yeah.
Well, especially the Twitch society too. I mean, because it's I don't know what the average or median age is on Twitch. I'm actually going to guess the median age is probably around 33. It's just a gut guess, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it might be a little bit lower. At least with Hearthstone anyway. I take that back. The Hearthstone community might be about 33. Probably, I don't play games like League of Legends or the other games. It's probably is quite a bit lower on that. But, so what are some things that you would bring... in your mid 40s compared to somebody that's 23 with this young voice that's coming in streaming, Hearthstone. What would you bring versus somebody that's younger?
Well, I like to think wisdom.
Yeah.
And experience. Like we do actually have quite a few younger people that come into stream that are still in high school or college age, just like to talk about life in general too. So, you know, oftentimes they'll reach out for advice on things afterwards as well. Usually nothing like life changing or life threatening or anything. We have a pretty strong community, but you know, every now and then somebody is feeling down and just needs a pep talk, and we'll reach out for that. I think I think we can offer, or I can offer, some advice in those
Yeah.
things of how to deal with things. That hey, things do get better. You know, it's not always going to be like that. That at some point people stop caring so much about the way you present yourself and more about the ideas behind it, or the way you say something versus um, you know, how smart you are or anything
Hmm.
like that. All of it just kind of goes away, and at some point then people start treating each other more as humans,
Yeah.
and then it's your ideas that get attacked instead of you.
Yeah. That I think having wisdom is a huge value and a huge benefit, and that's one of the things I tell myself as well. Because my stream would be very similar to yours. I mean, most people would say, "Oh, you're positive," or you always bring some wisdom and such. So that's the way I've always encountered it too, and I think there's a lot of value in that. So and I think you see the value too as you talk through it. So I think that's one of the key things is, I forget the quote. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, is comparison is the thief of joy, I believe is the quote. It's
Yeah,
something
I
along those
believe you've
lines.
used that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that quote. That was in one of the more recent YouTube videos as well, where I quoted that. But I love that because when we compare ourselves, all we are doing is just robbing ourselves of joy. When we compare yourself in a negative standpoint, we could,
Right.
you know, is there anybody that's exactly like Guy Grumpy in the world other than you?
Oh yeah, we're a dime a dozen.
Dime a dozen. Everywhere, at least 5 in every city. No,
Yep. Yep.
but pretty unique, right? So there's always going to be something that we each have where we're different, right?
Hmm.
There's going to be some things where we're similar, but there's going to be things where we're different, right? So if we're looking for things where we're different, where we fall in the comparison trap is we look at things where other people are different. We say, oh, they're better. Well, they're younger, so they're probably better than me, right? All just the fact that they're 22 and all this skin and no gray hairs or softer voice or whatever it is. Say, oh well, this person, they're younger, so they're better than me. They have more value than me, and I think that's where we have to reframe our stuff. If we're going to compare ourselves to others, I think you can do it however you guys want, but if you don't want to fall down a negative trap of a self-doubt trap or anything like that, it's about, well, what do they do that I aspire to do like them? What can I do to be, what things do I admire in them that I like? Maybe that 22-year-old would be watching your stream like, man, I wish I had the wisdom the Guy Grumpy did. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I'm much more wise now in my mid 30s. I would not have said the same things you did in my early 20s. I'm guessing you wouldn't have either.
No. Yeah. Definitely
I
different.
probably still would have been hormonal, almost like a teenager at 22, and like, oh my gosh, everything's awful. This is the worst. God, he's a jerk. Where as you get older, you realize, what? I don't probably need to overact all this. I don't need to spend all of my energy on it. Life's gonna get better. It's gonna be fine. Things are going okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that would be one thing, if I were to give you like coaching homework that you would want to do is I think, and this is always challenging, is to try to be aware of those thoughts, and you might already be doing that anyways, but
Yeah. So that's something that comes up in any coaching, and
yeah.
Jill is also a certified life coach, so she's always saying those things too. That make sure that you change your focus. It's just a matter of how you do that, and sometimes it's I mean, it's easy. It's easy when everything's going right, right? Like
Yeah.
when things are when your numbers are going up and you're having some great conversations and good interactions with other people, then everything feels great. But then it doesn't take much to derail that. Like when you get a message on the back end from somebody who maybe just joined your stream and they're like, "Hey, I came to your stream because you had 30 viewers at the time, and why are people watching you? I'm way more entertaining," or stuff like that in a Discord message or a Twitter DM. And it's like, well, here's what I'm doing and here's what you might want to do. And but it just kind of is that little switch that's like, oh yeah, why indeed. Like
Hmm.
you can go through all of that,
Yeah.
and then have somebody that's never had a viewer in their stream come and think that they're better, for whatever reason. And or other people that I have been in their chats before, even that came to check out mine, and like, how come people talk in yours and they won't talk in mine? You need to tell them to talk in mine, and things like that. It's just kind of, I don't know, kind of weird.
Yeah. So you to make sure I got that. So somebody kind of DM'd you and say, hey, why are people talking in your stream and they don't talk in mine?
Yeah, or it's like, why? Like, what do you do to get people to talk in your stream? Because nobody talks in mine, and I'm more
Yeah.
entertaining, kind of deal.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of
Yeah.
is it a proven fact that they're more entertaining though?
Well, no.
Yeah, well no. You can clearly say that, yes.
Yeah, most of the time it's somebody who just started streaming, and
Hmm.
you have different expectations, I think, when you start versus after you've been doing it for a while. Uh, but um, but yeah, it happens more than you would think.
Interesting.
That I don't get the trolls in chat usually. Every now and then, I think maybe I've had two in the whole year and a half that I've been streaming, where people will say something rude or hurtful. But for the most part, that's either managed by my moderators, or it
Hmm.
just doesn't happen in my stream for whatever reason. But it's and I don't get a whole lot of hate. It's more stream hate, not hate directed at me. So,
Yeah.
um, but it does happen more often than you would think,
So it's
where
actually
people either feel that jealousy, and
yeah.
or they genuinely don't understand why, um, and instead of asking the people that were there, then they come to
Right.
the creator instead.
Right. Yeah. So it's really kind of like you said, it's jealousy, right? And that's really their problem, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same
But
time,
it digs to you though, right?
it can make you question.
Sure. So so that happens outside of stream though, not during stream, right?
Yeah, not
Okay.
not usually. Yeah, yeah, outside
Yeah.
of stream.
Okay. Yeah, I think if like you said, you've already got access to Jilly, a fantastic life coach. But I would challenge you. I think when the next time that happens is perhaps to maybe journal on that a little bit. How does that make you feel? What are they saying, and is that true? I mean, those are almost always the questions you'd ask yourself. Is
Yep.
hey, is this true? And it's still tough. I mean, we go
I don't
our
know.
society.
Asking that question sometimes is the catalyst. Is it true? Oh, maybe, but
Yeah.
usually it's not. Usually it's not.
Right. Yeah. It's usually not, but and we really got to ask ourselves, how can we, uh, how can we prove it's true? What other things could it be? I mean, I think you've already identified, logically that hey, this person's just kind of jealous, or maybe they don't have the, I want to say bedside manner, but they just manners, on how they talk, or maybe they say something in a way and it could be misconstrued as well. I mean, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they're just kind of being rude, really. But
No, I mean, it could be. This medium definitely brings people that may not have the social skills,
yes,
um,
yes,
always. Not saying that everybody is like that, but
right, yeah,
they tend to feel a little bit more free to come into people's channels and participate than they would in normal society, I think, because people are a little bit more um, willing to listen.
Well, and I mean, I think that's also just the internet as well in general, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people on the internet are much more likely to say something, especially that's going to offend people, than they would in person, right? I mean, that's,
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's like, I feel like I heard a stat at one point that every sixth comment on a message board somewhere on the internet starts derailing into some sort of name calling or getting mad at somebody. I mean, that's could be just something I made up in my head, but I swear I felt like I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest, on average. So,
Right.
so, but I would, next time that happens, I guess I would just, I would challenge that and say, hey, let's journal on this. Okay, how does that make me feel? What did they say? Where could they be coming from? Is this about me at all? So it'd be like, somebody trying to think of an example on the fly, but being stuck in rush hour traffic, and somebody just starts honking, behind you or whatever. I mean, remember when we had rush hour? I should do a more relevant example since none of us had to commute for a while. But back in the day when we used to drive cars and go to work, people would get a little bit angry, being on the freeway or outside in the scary world where the germs are. But so you'd
In the smoke.
yes, yeah, well, yeah. Now you have the smoke too. So yeah, you're driving and then somebody honks at you, right? Now, in that situation, do you think, well, I must be a really terrible driver if they're honking at me?
Yeah. No.
No? What do you think?
But the temper still like shoots up, or adrenaline
Sure.
shoots up, and
Sure.
I would think, hey, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck in traffic
Right.
just like you. Like,
Yeah.
why are you honking?
Right.
We're all
But
stuck.
right, absolutely. And totally valid to feel that way too. But like rewinding that though. So what do you think though when somebody's honking at you? If you don't think, well, I must be a terrible driver, what do you think?
Well, I guess usually I just think that they have anger issues, right?
Yeah.
We're all stuck. Nobody's getting through this. The honking doesn't help. What outlet is there other than you're just screaming?
Yeah. So what about people that are messaging you on Twitch?
Yeah, same thing, I guess.
Yeah, it could be the same thing, or it could, like you said, they could just be socially awkward and they just don't know how to type. But my guess is kind of like what Noodle Vicuña is saying in chat, and what we just talked about is, and this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last year, is people's reactions more about them than it is about you.
And that's fair.
Yeah, and that's a really tricky thing that most of us don't grow up to know, and that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to change, and be this type of YouTuber and have this stream. Is I want to share all these things that I've learned in the last year that have really empowered me to get rid of that self-doubt and have a higher self-esteem and more self-love and have a more enjoyable life, because these are not things that we get taught growing up, unfortunately, or for most of us. I mean, maybe if you have a really I mean, it's going to depend on your parents, going to depend on your society, so many different things. But I think those are things that I really wish we were taught growing up. And so, but anyways, yeah. So I would, ask the question, is this about them or is this really about me at all? And, and figure out how you feel. And you're valid in feeling however you want. And it's understandable to feel, hey, maybe I should doubt myself because this random person that I don't know thinks I'm not entertaining, but anyways, are you going to please everybody on Twitch anyways? Are you going to be able to? No. Yeah.
No, and actually that's something in my stream coaching class that that I recently took that they focused on is that you're not going to please everyone, so you shouldn't even really try. That you should be authentic to yourself and go ahead and take some risks. If there's some beliefs that you have that might alienate people, it's okay to share those, and because those are the people that won't let you be your true self anyway. So
Exactly.
if you have something that you want to share with the community, even if it costs you half your viewers at the time, it'll just attract the people that believe the same way or that have the same feelings in future broadcasts, and then you'll hone your audience and make it easier to develop content that resonates with them. So
Yeah.
rather than always trying to play it safe.
Exactly. And I think that's such a great message. Being your true authentic self is what we all owe it to the world to be. Because, there's not going to be another GuyGrumpy. There's not going to be another Mighty Rye. There's not going to be, the Yum Pickles or Noodle Vicuña or Electric Sheep City or anybody else. So we all have our own true gifts that we offer to the world. And, if we don't offer that, whether that's our wisdom, our beautiful beard, our soft voice, our willingness to build a community, we need to share those things. We need to be authentic and not be afraid to be ourselves. And that's something that's really challenging for many of us, especially in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. Well, teens probably too, but and Ryu as well. So sorry, I forgot to mention you. But there's only one Ryu warrior out there. So other than the Ryu from Street Fighter, but sorry, I got sidetracked there. but what I'm getting at though is that's the best thing you can do really in streaming. I love that piece of advice that you got from them is be your authentic self. And I know there's been parts of me where, and there's a little bit of trickiness too, because when we stream, we sometimes want to have our own persona, and that's part of the fun and entertainment of it too. But I can tell in streams when people are not being their authentic self and they're doing things for bits or for subs or, just because they think somebody else wants them to be that way. I've done that before. Have you ever felt like you've had streams where you've done that?
So it's difficult for me to answer that one because sometimes I feel like the persona on stream is more of the authentic me than my in person and my IRL version. Or at least it's more who I want to be. So I would like to stay as positive as I am on stream in real life. I think Jilly would appreciate that too. But there's other things like I'll sometimes drop into funny voices. So those are the kinds of things that I would never do in real life with a group of friends or in a professional situation or anything like that. So it's just kind of weird. Maybe around Jilly and Cookies, but yeah, the real version of me is much more shy and less likely to talk to people and more likely to hide in a corner when there's company over and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like when I'm on stream, then it's more empowering and it brings out more of my real personality.
It's awesome. That's great. I think that's I've heard stories similar to that before, but I feel like that's, and I'm just making a guess on that. I feel like that's more rare. I feel like a lot of times it's the other way around. Like I feel like sometimes people are more able to be themselves in real life than they are on stream sometimes. Like I at least for me, I've fallen in the fallacy before, feeling like I need to be a certain way on stream. And for me, that's incredibly exhausting because whenever you're not yourself and you're in your head, you're analyzing, okay, well, I should be doing this to keep these viewers. I should be doing this to get, to attract subs or attract, whatever it is. It's incredibly exhausting. So I'm glad you're kind of more on the opposite end where I hope that you are your authentic self 100% of the time, but especially on stream, it sounds like you're more your authentic self. You're making voices and changing hats. You're being playful and joyful, which is us being authentic. That's one cool thing about Twitch is you can, make lots of cool sounds and, play a children's card game and have a good time. Whereas a lot of people in our day to day maybe don't understand that, and they might judge it and say, "Oh, that's okay. That's cool." So, anyways, I think that's great though that it empowers you for sure. Thank you. Yeah. So as far as feeling an imposter though, so we've nailed out how you provide value. Is there any ways you wish you provided value that you don't today?
it's something I'm constantly looking at. Something that I've even asked in my own Discord for my most ardent fans, I guess, or closest
Mm-hmm.
friends from stream. Just how else can I be adding value? Um, I don't have any really ideas now. I guess I'd like to get better so that I could create some more content that helps other people get better at the game
Mm-hmm.
too. Um, and I guess that kind of stems from more of a desire to get into the YouTube side of things and do something different there, rather than a lot of people will stream and then just convert a couple of games from that into a YouTube video with no extra commentary or things like that. That doesn't sound super exciting to me. So I'd rather find a way that I can provide some of the same values that I provide on my stream, maybe in a
Mm-hmm.
different format for YouTube. And I had a few false starts on that. Like people were redeeming poems a lot, and so I thought, oh, I'll turn that into a YouTube thing, but got some feedback that maybe that wasn't the best idea for my YouTube side, and
Mm-hmm.
so just trying to figure out what I want to do with that, and how I want to deliver value that way, would is kind of where my mind is.
So I hear you say though you want to play better so that you
Yeah.
can offer more content, but did any of your viewers that you reached out to say, "Oh, I need you to play better so I can learn how to play the game better"?
No,
No.
no. I mean, it's more the feedback I've gotten from others is more um, pointed, I guess. So different things that I could be doing to be more accessible,
Mm-hmm.
um, or yeah, just provide more community style value in my existing setup. So things like having a more consistent stream times. I streamed at 3 different times. I just changed that starting this week,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to some of that feedback. So that'll be a consistent time throughout the week. And yeah, just like small changes like that are what's been recommended over the actual content itself.
Okay.
Because again, I think it goes back to people more come to mind streams for the community, which means that there's less things that are really clip worthy, because you're not there for the gameplay, you're there for the conversation.
Yeah.
um,
There you
so
go.
content isn't as important, I guess, which makes it hard though to come up with, when you don't have that direct interaction, what value can you provide, or can I provide, um, in that new form.
Yeah. So there's some aching part of you that feels like you need to provide more value. Is that right?
So I'm comfortable with my stream for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's more of a self doubt thing, that the things that I'm already providing are actually at that level that I think that they are, and that will get better over time, just like it has
Yeah.
been for the last year and a half. Moving to the YouTube side, there's a lot of reasons to get into YouTube from a streaming perspective. Like discoverability on Twitch is
Mm-hmm.
terrible, but it's really good on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find a way to be discovered on YouTube, then you should be able to convert them and push them over to your Twitch, where you're providing more of that value. So I don't necessarily need more value than I'm delivering on stream. I just need to find a way to take the values that I have identified for my own stream and convert that into YouTube content,
Okay.
if that makes
Interesting.
sense.
Yeah, that does. So it sounds like you want to attract more people from YouTube, but your value proposition is community based on Twitch, really.
Yeah.
But I think I hear you feel like either you got to figure out a way to do what you're doing, what your true authentic self, figure out a way that provides value on YouTube, or
Hmm.
try to be more of a competitive gamer or a better gamer to start providing a new type of value to
Yeah.
people on YouTube to bring them over.
Yeah. And I'm not
Yeah.
looking for answers necessarily here, but if you have any guidance or
Yeah.
thoughts, maybe we can even talk afterwards. It's
Yeah, of
just,
course.
Different mediums require more specific to that medium values,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's because it's new. It's just
Yeah.
difficult, and
Sure.
there's no real line. If you look at other content creators again, looking for more of a positive thing of, hey, oh hey, I might be able to do something like that. Uh, it can be a challenge because most of the YouTube content is high level play or a unique deck that wins more than 50% of the time still in legend or mid legend,
Yeah.
where most of the content like that I would create would still be at Diamond 5. So,
Mm-hmm.
or just not to the same level. It'll be a deck that somebody else built rather than one that I built. So, there's a whole bunch of different things that can go into that. But if I can find other ways that I can make content that would help, both both avenues work together, then it would be ideal to pull something that I'm already doing. I'm just not sure how that would work on YouTube.
Yeah, I got a lot of ideas. This might be something we take offline, but in generally, do you want to be like a high level competitive Hearthstone player?
Man, after watching the Masters tour yesterday, you always get psyched up, and you're like, yeah, I want to do that, but that's a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of practice.
That's what I was going to recommend. I don't, by no means do I want to talk you out of it. Because I played, I wouldn't say I played super competitively. I mean, I played in a league, but it wasn't like, obviously Masters Tour, nowhere in that. But I feel like there's a couple things I think of here is, so to get on YouTube and because most of the content is about, high level play. So let's say there's 50 people on YouTube. Maybe there's more than that. I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's say there's 50 YouTubers that provide high level content. Now there's 51. Now there's GuyGrumpy. So what does GuyGrumpy bring that those other 50 people don't bring?
Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to noodle on that for a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, just from a logistical standpoint, you might be going into an already flooded sea of something. Not to say you shouldn't do it. It might still be worth your time to try it and do it. But again, the one thing that you have over everybody else is your GuyGrumpy and nobody else's.
Right.
And I know there's still some self-doubts deep down, which we all get, but we've already talked about the value that you bring. And so even though you may not love your voice, other people love your voice enough to support your stream. So maybe that's a competitive advantage. If it were my guess is that you really prefer being a friendly, community-based person. And that's the big value you bring. That's been kind of the theme, is you bring that value. So it'd be like, let's say you're McDonald's. What does McDonald's offer to people?
Big Macs, filet of fish, quarter pounder, French fries.
Yeah. They offer food, fast food, right?
Yeah.
And it's, it's efficient, right? Now let's say McDonald's says, I think we can make more money, or I think we can bring more people to McDonald's if we start selling pizzas. Maybe they could. Did they really? I did not know that.
And it was good.
Was it really? Well, they're not doing it today, right?
Right. No, they're not.
So it seems like they really niche down in this fast food market. It seems to be working out okay for them. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't explore other avenues. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying McDonald's has a value proposition. For you, it's being community based, being positive, providing wisdom. And for McDonald's, it's providing fast service. They're not providing amazing ambiance. They're not providing amazing food, but what they do it really well. There's only going to be one McDonald's. I mean, there's going to be lots of locations, but there's going to be one McDonald's, franchise. So the reason why I bring that is maybe there's a way that you can be you on YouTube and still bring value to YouTube and bring those people over to Twitch. So, I mean, I agree they are different platforms. So it is kind of a conundrum of a problem, but maybe you can find the things that you do really well and find a way to see if there's somebody on YouTube that wants that and provide that. And, or maybe, cause I can kind of relate to this a little bit is I found Regis Kilman. Regis Kilman's the one that got me into streaming and really into Hearthstone. I discovered him from Hearthstone or from YouTube from his top 10 videos. They were educational. They weren't high level competitive, but they helped me get better at the game. At that time, that was before the ranked 4s. So I would maybe get up to rank 5 back when it was really hard to get up to rank 5. And he taught me how to play the game, and I really appreciate his personality, and that's what I really fell in love with is his personality. Plus, he added that educational standpoint to it. So then he went to Twitch about a year later. Like, I'd never even watched YouTube before that. I just happened to see a video of his on YouTube. He got me into YouTube, and then when he went to Twitch, I said, "Oh, I'm going to go over to Twitch too." Just to go hang out with this guy and learn some more. And then here I am 3-4 years later, I'm a huge Twitch nerd. Like, I would not have found that without Regis. And that could be you as well. That doesn't necessarily need, Regis was being his authentic self. He's an educator. He's very meticulous and analytical. And he brought those strengths to YouTube and provided value in that way, and not necessarily feeling like he needs to be a high level gamer. In fact, he actually advertises he's not a high level gamer, to do that, and he's doing pretty well. So
yeah, and Raffle is kind of similar. It still comes a little different. Like, he still is creating his own decks, and that could still be a fun thing that I'm experimenting with a little bit more. And fortunately, getting to play against viewers makes that a lot easier to test and realize if it's going to be a good enough or not good enough. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of ideas, and Jilly's been really helping me try to focus on that as well. So
yeah, awesome. For advice for you, GuyGrumpy, I would recommend, like we've talked about the things that you provide value, but you've worked for companies, you've seen vision statements before, right? I encourage you to write your own vision statement.
Okay.
So write your own vision statement. What does GuyGrumpy bring to people on Twitch? And then maybe try to figure out a way, how can I find a way to bring the things that I want to bring, which I think is probably what you bring today. It sounds like you're your most authentic self on stream. You like providing wisdom. You like being positive. You like making people feel welcome and entertaining. How can I do the things that I really love that I do on Twitch today and do those on YouTube and provide value?
So can you give an example of a vision statement, or talk a little bit about what the components of a vision statement should be?
So theirs is a little bit vague, but Wells Fargo's vision is to satisfy our customers' financial needs and help them succeed financially. It's a little bit vague, but
like a mission statement.
Yeah.
So you're just saying what the purpose of the stream is then, or what my purpose is.
Yeah, exactly. What is it really? Yeah, that's what it is. Is what is your value that you bring to your viewers? So I'm not going to say you shouldn't try to get better to try to provide something else on YouTube, but it's like going into a flooded market. And I think those are one of the things that causes burnout too, is feeling like, oh, I need to do this on top of what I already do. And then the further we get away from our true authentic selves, not saying that's not true and authentic to you to try to get better at the game and be a high level player, but it's almost like we're trying to fit in to the pizza space. Sure, McDonald's can probably make some pizzas, but Pizza Hut's doing it, Domino's is doing it, so many other people are doing it. They're doing it pretty well. They've been doing it for a while. Doesn't mean competitions can be bad. Jump in there and try that. But what do I really want to do? Because if you're doing what you want to do, that's going to be more enjoyable.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think that's the advice I would give. Yeah, I know that's more advice more than coaching, but That's just my thoughts. But I would encourage you to create your own value statement. And honestly, I'd tape it right behind your webcam or where you can see it during your stream. Or whenever you get any thoughts of self-doubt, I'd look at that value statement and say, hey, I provide this to my viewers. I don't need to be anything else. This is the value I provide. This is the value that I've gotten by growing. You have much more than 0 viewers, right? So you're providing value to some people, and we've even seen some comments in chat on that.
And I have nothing but love for chat.
Yes, chat's great. Twitch chat is always correct.
So many names. That's great.
Yeah, good deal. All right. So you're going to do a vision statement. I encourage you to keep it close to you, because that's one thing with self-doubt is unless we get really trained at seeing our thoughts, which a lot of times we don't. I'm getting better at it, but that's through years of training with meditation and just one of the focus in my life is about being my happiest version of myself. And, I'm a single guy. I don't really have that many responsibilities. So it's a lot easier for me to just focus on me and focus on those thoughts. But I think having that piece of paper, that value statement, and having that very readily available will be really good, especially anytime you have self-doubt about your streaming. I almost want to encourage you to read that 3 times a day, actually. Because there's this thing called, you can make a mantra. That's something I picked up in one coaching program that I'm in. And so if there's some things that I feel self-doubt about, I have a mantra that I read every morning, before I take a shower, or, during COVID times, I don't always take a shower, but every other day, before I take a shower, I read this mantra. And, it's very interesting. The words we tell ourselves, we start to believe whatever words we tell ourselves. I think it's our subconscious mind doesn't really know what's true or false. It just, whatever we say, I think it's the subconscious mind. It takes it as truth. And so when we say disparaging things about ourselves, we say, oh, I'm too old, or, my voice sucks, or whatever, we start to believe those things the more we hear it. So likewise, we can do that with positive reinforcement. So the more positive things we can say about ourselves, or the more we can remind ourselves of the value we bring to the world or to the stream, the more that we start to believe those things, and then we embody those things. And that's how we get through self-doubt, is recognizing those negative thoughts or overriding them with positive thoughts.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see if you feel like sharing your vision statement with me someday. I'd love to see what you come up with. But yeah. And then, if you wanted to get the extra credit points, I'd read it 3 times a day too.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So good. Anyways, I know you just got done streaming. Thank you so much for being my first guest on the show. Where can people find you in HypeHorizen?
So thank you again for having me on. You can find me at Twitch and Twitter at GuyGrumpy, just as it sounds, all together. You can find HypeHorizen. That's spelled with a Zen at the end instead of a Zon. So slight misspelling, but you can find it at HypeHorizen.com or at Twitch at HypeHorizen. And you'll find me on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. and on Sundays at 11 a.m., all times Pacific. And thanks again. And there will be one special stream at the end of the month. We're having the Heroic Brawlisium, and I'm putting together a pretty good show with myself and some of my teammates, hopefully, that will be on a Wednesday. So look for us on the 23rd for that. And I'll be releasing a commercial soon after this stream is over on YouTube. So
yeah, thank you.